Hey guys. So this is probably my top most requested video. So I decided I was just gonna sit down and record it today. I wanted to do something fancy with like a really pretty video and a voiceover, but I ain't got time for that. So I'm just gonna sit down, keep it real with you, and yeah, so let's get started. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Ashley Mae Fernandez, and I am a Christian writer, speaker, and business mentor. And today I'm going to be talking about my testimony. Ooh, this is a very vulnerable and hard thing for me to talk about still. But I think that, God gives you a testimony and a story because you are supposed to tell it. So I'm telling it today. A little bit of my background. I did not grow up in the church. I did not have any Christian influence in my life whatsoever. The only thing I knew about God was that He created the earth and He lived in the sky. That was probably about all. And my mom and dad had a very, very rocky marriage, very unstable. They fought all the time, and my dad was an alcoholic. When I was 11 years old, my mom decided to leave my dad and separate, and my sister and I went with my mom. And for a couple years, my sister and I didn't really go and visit my dad that much just because my mom insisted on always being there. And when they were there, they just fought. So we just didn't really go and see him very often. Fast forward to when I was 13, I was in a Spanish class. I was in 8th grade. And our Spanish teacher came in and said he was taking a leave of absence to go back to Mexico to spend time with his dad, who had been diagnosed with cancer. And sorry guys, my bangs need to be trimmed. They're driving me insane. But anyways, he wanted to go back to Mexico to see his dad. And he said that when he left Mexico, when he was 18 years old, him and his dad didn't leave on good terms. So he basically was telling us that to not take our parents for granted. And for some reason, my little 13-year-old heart was just crushed. And I just had this overwhelming feeling that I should go and see my dad. So my mom picked me up from school that day. I said, "Mom, can we please go see Dad?" And she was like, "We'll go on Sunday." So Sunday rolls around, and I ended up getting out of the car first. We pulled in my dad's driveway. I got out of the car first. My mom and my aunt were getting some stuff out of the car. And I walked up on my dad's porch, and the screen door, the main door was open, and the screen door, was there. So I opened the screen door, and I come in, and my dad is sitting in his chair, with his hand kind of like this, and I only could kind of see like this side of his face. And so I walk in, I'm like, "Dad," and he didn't say anything. So I said his name again, and he still didn't respond. So I was like, maybe he's asleep. So I walk over to, shake him awake, and his body was cold and stiff. So at that point, I just fell to the floor, and I was screaming, "He's dead, he's dead." My mom, my aunt came in, and my aunt was consoling me. My mom called 911, and then slowly, a couple hours later, family was coming. Here I was, this 13-year-old girl, and I'm sitting on my porch, or my dad's porch, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And I'm in shock of what had happened. And my aunt comes up to me, and she says, "God took him home. He's in a better place now." And I remember thinking to myself, what God would take him at that moment when he knew how guilty I had felt for not spending time with him lately. And here I was coming to spend time with him, and he's gone. And instead I find him dead, a 13-year-old girl. And I just got up and I walked away. And as I was walking towards our field, I said, "God, if you exist, I hate you. I hate you with every ounce of me. I don't even think you exist, but if you do, I want you to know that I hate you." And from that moment on, I turned into one of the most broken people. I had a lot of sexual sin. I looked to guys for confirmation that I was worthy. I I drank alcohol for the first time like a month after that and didn't stop. I hid alcohol under my bed. I self-harmed. I cut myself. I contemplated suicide. I hid this. I had this mask. I wore this mask in front of everyone, and I didn't want them to think that I was struggling. I wanted them to think I was part of the cool crowd, and this is just what the cool crowd did. They went out and partied on the weekends, and I I was drowning, and I was slowly suffering, and I didn't let anyone know. I hid it, and that went on all throughout high school. Um, and I ended up going to college, and my freshman year was just a worse version of myself from high school because now I didn't have a parent around. And so I I kind of went crazy my freshman year. And there was a girl that came and knocked on my door every single Tuesday and invited me to campus outreach on campus. And I was so mean to this girl. I told her that she was stupid. I told her God didn't exist and anyone who believed in God was stupid. And I slammed the door in her face. You guys, I was so mean to this girl. And this girl relentlessly pursued me. She came every single freaking Tuesday and knocked my door, no matter how mean I was to her. And this happened, for several weeks. And I ended up one Tuesday night. I was downstairs in one of our guy friends' rooms. Like the bottom floor of our dorm was guys, and then the top floor were girls. And I was downstairs in one of our friends. My roommate and I were downstairs in our friend's room, and there was a guy that lived on my first floor that I thought was just the best thing in the world. He was so nice. He treated me with so much respect, and I like had the biggest crush on him ever. And he was so different than any guy I'd ever even talked to. Just so incredibly sweet and so nice. Anyways, we were down there and he got up and he was putting on a hoodie and I was like, hey, where are you going? He goes, oh, I'm actually going to campus outreach. And he's like, would you like to go with me? And I'm thinking, you're inviting me somewhere? I don't even care where you're inviting me. Of course I'm going with you because I thought like for some reason all of my old like flirty tactics didn't work on this guy. And so I'm like, oh my God, maybe he does like me. He's inviting me somewhere. And I didn't even realize that it was the same thing that the girl had been inviting me to for weeks. God knew what he was doing. Anyways, I ended up going, and as soon as I got there, the girl ran up to me and she was like, I have been praying for God to just get you here. I didn't care how he got you here. I had just been praying for him to get you here. And I was like, oh gosh, what did I sign up for? But anyways, long story short, I ended up just loving it. And I had so many questions, and everyone was so patient with me asking the questions, and everyone was so vulnerable and sharing all of these dark things in their past. And I, for the first time in my life, did not feel alone. I felt okay to share these things that I had been struggled with without judgment. It was just a game changer for me. And so I started to slowly think, like, maybe there is something to all of this Jesus stuff. Like, maybe there is something. Um, and so just to continue the story, I ended up going home for fall break, and I just had this urge to go to church. So I asked my mom, can we go to church this morning? And she was kind of like, okay, but I think she was just so shocked that I asked her to do something with me that she decided to say yes. So we ended up going to this church, and the moment I walked in, I just felt like something's about to change. And the sermon was like, it was spoken right to me. It was like every single word was meant for me. And I felt overwhelmed, like in a good way, and bawling my eyes out. And at the end of the service, the pastor says, hey, if you want to invite Jesus into your heart, pray this prayer with me. And it wasn't like I wanted to, it was just something in me had to. And so I prayed this prayer, and I'm overwhelmed and crying, and I just am like, it's true. It's all true. So we leave the service, I get back in the car, and I go to put the pamphlet from the service in my Bible, and I look down at the date, and it was November 23rd. It was exactly 5 years to the day that I told God I hated him. It was the 5-year anniversary of my dad's death, the day that I told God that if he existed, I hated him. And then here I was accepting him as my God and accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior on the exact same day. If that is not a testimony to God's perfect timing, I don't know what is. Oh, I'm not going to start crying. So, of course, things were rocky after that. I think anytime you become a Christian, you get this high, like you're really excited, but then, sometimes you get a little bit of doubt, and it's not smooth sailing once you become a Christian. Don't ever think that. But over the years, I cannot even tell you how much God has changed me, and just such a privilege to be his servant and to learn more about him. And if you would have told that 13-year-old girl who told God she hated him, that I would be here today teaching other women about Jesus, I would have thought you were crazy. But I'm so honored that I get that opportunity, and that God found me, that he saved me. So, of course, that's not the end of it, but that is my testimony in a nutshell. And there's 2 things I want you to take away from it. Is one, that God is always pursuing you. When I look back at the details of my life, he has prepared every single second for his plan. His handwriting is all over my story. Every single piece of my story is with his handwriting. And second, if you ever feel like you are not good enough, that is a lie. When you are saved, you are made new. Your past does not define you at all. It's helped you get to your future, yes, but it's not who you are. And I want you to know that God saves and he redeems. He redeems. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry it took me forever to record this video, but that is my testimony in a nutshell. And I can't wait to see what else God has in store for me and for you. I hope you enjoyed, and remember, I am always cheering you on. Bye, guys.